Christianity is still persecuted throughout the empire, and many Christians feel that a united front is needed if the new religion is to survive. At the forefront of this movement is Ignatius of Antioch. In the year 110 AD, he is arrested during a persecution of Christians. As he is transported across Asia Minor to Rome to be executed, he meets with members of local Christian churches along the way.
Ignatius, like Paul, is one of the key figures in early Christianity. He's working to centralize the authority over Christians in a town under a single person. There's a move to consolidate all of those little house churches into one larger organization. One of the movers in this direction was to bring a central authority to this collection of house churches in the form of a bishop.
Ignatius proposes a structure for the church based on Roman city government. The Christian congregation becomes the Roman city, and the bishop becomes the Roman administrator. In this way, every early church comes to resemble a Roman municipality in the empire of Christianity. In letters to the churches he visits, Ignatius sets forth his design for a centralized Christianity.
You should all follow the bishop as Jesus Christ did the Father. Follow to the elders as you would the apostles, and respect the deacons as you would God's law. He who pays the bishop honor has been honored by God. But he who acts without the bishop's knowledge is in the devil's service. Ignatius of Antioch, 110 AD.
The spread of Christianity has followed the routes of the apostles from city to city. This urban religion will now be governed by the civic standards of the most powerful city in the world, Imperial Rome. Women now lose the power they had achieved in the early church. Rome does not generally permit women to hold leadership positions. Christianity will demote them accordingly. The influence of Roman culture has a profound effect on Christian thinking. Early Christian writers and teachers like Justin Martyr, Clement of Alexandria, and Origen apply classical logic and philosophy to formulate what they believe is a definitive theology for Christianity. The 4th century AD is known as the Golden Age of Christian theology. The theologian Tertullian explains his faith eloquently to Roman philosophers.
God made this universe by his word, reason, and power. Your philosophers also agree that the maker of the universe seems to be the Logos, that is, word and reason. This word, we have learned, was produced by God, and therefore is called the Son of God.
Theology is essentially the use of philosophy to try to understand God. And after the year 200, it became very clear that Christian thinkers were going to use Greek philosophy to try to establish the truth about God. Now, that means that the truth about God becomes almost as important, and sometimes practically more important, than the actual worship of, love of, practice of the religion.
The new faith emphasizes more than just an intellectual theology. It offers community and mutual support in a rapidly changing Roman Empire. It is an anchor of faith and community in a shifting world.
This was an encounter with ultimate reality in the person of God, who was living with them. There was an appeal to Christian faith that still exists today. The appeal of the truth and love being put together in a wonderful package where it's believable and it's convincing and on the other hand, it makes you a different person. And lots of people saw that and said, I like that. I like that. Tell me more about it. This sounds good.
The new faith makes inroads into the entire population of the empire, from slaves and peasants to the empire's middle classes, to some Roman senatorial families.
There were enormous changes taking place within Christian communities. Christianity was now penetrating into the upper classes. The leadership of the churches came more and more from the municipal elites. The organization of the church is much more like the city council. The Christian communities are seeing themselves much more as an independent community, almost as a political entity.
Christianity bought into the political and social status quo. Without this kind of concern for political power, it is not clear that Christianity would have survived. But what is intriguing and fascinating and provocative about this is, at what price did it buy into this power? At what cost did it buy into hierarchy? At what cost did it compromise some of the values of Jesus in order to be successful as a religion?
Just as Christianity is experiencing its greatest growth, it is about to experience its worst persecution. In 303 AD, Roman Emperor Diocletian claims that the sun god Apollo has spoken to him. According to Diocletian, Apollo is angry at the rise of this new Christian deity in Rome, and so begins a deadly crusade against Christianity. It intended to do nothing less than destroy the new religion, to eliminate every Christian in the Mediterranean world, a final solution for Christians. And yet, within a decade of what will come to be known as the Great Persecution, Christianity will become the dominant religion of the entire Roman Empire. What caused this extraordinary, even miraculous turnabout? How did this tiny Jewish sect from the backwater of the empire come to dominate Rome, the Mediterranean, and all of Europe? The rise of Christianity is one of the most startling success stories in history. In less than 300 years, Christianity has spread from an obscure corner of Palestine through the entire Roman Empire. Despite centuries of persecution and repression, Christianity has not only survived, it has flourished. Now, 300 years after the death of Jesus, the Christian church faces ultimate destruction from a vengeful new emperor. But the new faith will soon turn the tables on its oppressors. Christianity is about to conquer the Roman Empire itself. In the first years of the 3rd century, the Roman Empire is in a state of chaos. Political crises, barbarian invasions, and drastic economic troubles nearly bring about the collapse of the Roman Empire. Political infighting becomes deadly. There have been 22 emperors in 50 years, and 20 of them have died violently. In 285 AD, the Emperor Diocletian takes command and reorganizes the entire empire on a military basis. He splits the sprawling empire into eastern and western halves in an attempt to prevent his rivals from rising against him. The division of the empire seems to create more problems than it solves.
Diocletian set up what's called the Tetrarchy. There were now going to be 2 emperors, a Western emperor and an Eastern emperor. They'd be called Augustus or Augusti. Each of them would have under them an heir apparent called the Caesar. So you had 2 and 2. Now you can imagine